Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mercules and I'm here today with Planet Destiny, and I'm going to be talking about the state of microtransactions in Destiny and why I'm worried about what they're doing to the world events, and then why I think that there's still hope for Bungie to basically improve on what they've done so far. Getting straight to the point, I don't think that microtransactions are inherently a bad thing. When the items are limited to cosmetics, dances, etc., things like that, and when the money goes towards helping a game that I love to get better, I really don't have any issues with it. I'm one of those people who was legitimately ready to throw money at the screen to get the new no 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 finger wag emote, and I had literally suggested on the Bungie subreddit, 9 months ago. But right now there are two really glaring problems with the way Bungie is currently handling microtransactions, and it's leaving a bad taste in my mouth. The first is obvious. It's been called out a ton of times both on the forums and on the subreddit. It's the RNG behind microtransactions. When I say I wanted to buy the new emote, I really did. The second I saw it in the reveal trailer, I was ready to buy some silver, but I held off on it, and I'm glad that I did, because I don't want to pay for a chance to get the emote I want. While the rate of getting the emote does seem to be rather high, even having to pay for 4 boxes before I got it just struck me as being super unfair, when I should have just been able to purchase it outright. So basically I kept the money in my pockets and I waited, and after a few weeks I was able to get it for myself from a weekly package. And I appreciate that I can get it from a weekly package, but I couldn't help but think there are probably a lot of other people out there who feel the same way I do about specific ornaments, but their chances of ever getting one in game are much, much smaller. Right now, microtransactions are taking advantage of the short-term benefits that come with basically tricking people into gambling to receive a cosmetic reward. There are definitely some people out there who are cool with spending $60 to $100 trying to get the Dragon's Bane ornament for bad juju, but there are probably even more people who wanted to buy it for a few bucks and said screw it, because who wants to deal with the RNG? And on top of that, the sad truth is how many of those people who did spend $60 or $100 are now burnt out and either won't do it again or maybe even soured on Destiny as a whole because of the experience. Those people may never spend money on Destiny again, whether it's microtransactions or even an expansion DLC or full game. And right now, I think the short-term gain of large sums of money from a small number of people helps to line Activision's coffers more quickly, but in the long term, the benefits seem to steeply fall off. Switching to a system that is more user-friendly may not get them as much money this quarter, but over the lifespan of the game, I think it would surely be the better option. The second thing that bothers me about the microtransaction system is actually how it affects world events. These events are supposed to be the lifeblood of the game during lulls between content drops, and in a perfect world, such an event would come with both an infusion of new things to do and more rewards to earn. This would be considered a great event, and then something like a good event would do one or the other. It would either give us more to do or more rewards to earn, but not both, and that's why it's referred to as a good event. The problem is Bungie has taken using microtransactions as a replacement for the more rewards to earn section, and it just simply isn't working. For example, last year we had Festival of the Lost, and many people enjoyed it and participated in it. There were a ton of possible in-game rewards, as well as several larger paid options. Activity-wise, not much was added, but the fact is we were still adequately rewarded in new ways just for playing, so I'm going to call this an example of a good event. This year, however, Festival of the Lost took what appeared to be a major step backwards. With minimal in-game rewards to be earned, almost every legitimate prize was locked behind an RNG paywall, and there even wasn't new content on top of that, so there's no real reason to partake in Festival of the Lost. I logged in, did my quest on 3 characters, and then didn't touch the mask or candy bag the entire rest of the event. Instead of being a 2-week-long festival, the event became a 1-day slog, which left me with nothing tangible or worthwhile. One of the few reasons it's such a huge problem is that they advertised all of this content for the festival, but in reality, everything they added had nothing to do with the festival itself and was more of an update to the Eververse store. As someone who just plays the game, I had almost nothing to interest me during this 2-week-long event. I would have loved to have been able to play the whole week with a mask on, collecting candy in the hopes of getting a ghost, but instead I took the mask off and never even thought of it again. There were no rewards to keep me playing the game once the initial quests were completed unless I wanted to pay. The point of this, of course, is that these events are supposed to be something to bring players back into the game and give them a reason to play. In a perfect world, the event would have new content and be satisfyingly rewarded, but at the very least it could have done one or the other. Instead, all Festival of the Lost ended up being was a way to get players to spend more money, seemingly saying that as long as they did that, who even cares if they leave the tower? Instead of an event giving us things to do and rewards to earn, we were treated to some aesthetic updates and a salesperson who was smart enough to give out the first hit for free. In short, Festival of the Lost didn't have enough to do and simultaneously wasn't even rewarding to play. This is a huge problem. It's really left me worried that Sparrow Racing League will end up the same way. Granted, by default, Sparrow Racing League will have much more to do than Festival of the Lost, but if Bungie insists on continually hyping up their events by advertising a bunch of new items, we should at least be able to earn a respectable number of them simply by playing. Being able to earn 3 sterling treasures a week was a good example of this. They hyped up Chroma and Taken Armor alongside the new and updated content, but it was actually possible to get a decent amount of it in-game just by playing. If I didn't want to wait around or grind it out, I could pay real money to skip the process, but I was also encouraged to keep playing because I was given decent rewards for my time and efforts and had a variety of activities to enjoy. This is an example of a great event where microtransactions assisted the reward process instead of replacing it. Now we move on to Radiant Treasures and Festival of the Lost, and the opposite is true. They hyped up the ornaments, masks, dances, making it seem like they're an integral part of the new DLC and events, but then they're incredibly stingy giving them out to people who spent their time in-game instead of their money. With Rise of Iron, at least we were given new content to keep us occupied, but the lack of a respectable in-game way to earn the rewards they so often showed off left it feeling incomplete, and this brings us to our second example of a good event. It's even more disappointing knowing that had they kept a system similar to that which they used with Sterling Treasures, the update could have been considered great. Instead, they leaned heavily on microtransactions to replace in-game methods of earning rewards, and thus we're left where we are now. This is even more apparent in the new Festival of the Lost. It gave us neither new content nor a decently rewarding experience in favor of almost exclusively paid-for options. As I mentioned before, I understand the reasoning for this, but why would people who have left Destiny come back and spend money on a game that has nothing new to do and doesn't reward them for playing in the first place? You see, in the short term, offering almost every reward as paid content seems like a good idea, as it gives a quick infusion of cash to a game whose player base is shrinking, but it does nothing to prevent that downward slide. People come back, take a look at the stock in the store, and then leave with no incentive to stick around if they don't want to spend money. Couple this with the RNG system that doesn't even guarantee that the person will get what they want when they make a purchase, and you've got two things that combine to make players feel unrewarded and taken advantage of. Long story short, I don't want Sparrow Racing League to be an event that does nothing but give me more things to spend money on. Hell, even if it came with a decent amount of new content, if almost all of the sure to be highly advertised rewards are for purchase only, it wouldn't sit well with me. A great event is one that combines new content with exciting winnable prizes, and that's what I'd like to see. Something that gives me more things to do and a chance to actually earn rewards at a respectable rate. On top of that, barring me actually getting what I want from a decent amount of chances, I'd like to be able to just flat out buy it as opposed to spending my hard-earned money gambling for a trinket and instead getting 20 others that I cared nothing about. In conclusion, RNG in the Eververse store makes purchasing things into a gamble, and this comes off as being unfair to a person who's paying money specifically to skip the hassle, and it both burns people out and drives them away. Without debate, if you do resort to buying something, you should be able to get exactly what you want. In addition to this, advertising a bunch of new items as a focal point of expansions or events, and then making it nearly impossible to get them through actual gameplay makes players feel unrewarded. Good events offer more to do or more to earn in-game, but great events will offer both, and it should be noted that microtransactions are not a substitute for earning rewards. Rise of Iron is an example of a good event that could have been great, as it gave us personal activities, but thanks to the microtransaction system made it very difficult to get the highly publicized rewards. Festival of the Lost, on the other hand, offered neither, and instead just went with straight microtransactions, and the overwhelming negative feedback should be looked at as a lesson learned. Hopefully, Sparrow Racing League can avoid these past mistakes in order to become a great event that provides us with more to do and more to earn without relying so heavily on microtransactions. Thank you guys for tuning in this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me. Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from y'all. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. Bye.